This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
You're listening to the best of the Morning X. You can also catch it on the Morning X podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, or at 99x.com.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, when you think about like TV shows and sitcoms, and especially ones that have run for a long time, you think of, Seinfeld, and you think of, Cheers ran for a number of years, and almost every sitcom, at some point in its run, it starts getting a little old and a little tired, and people say, well, Seinfeld was funnier at the beginning, but then it just kind of got silly or stupid. Any hardcore Simpsons fan will tell you that The Simpsons has just gotten funnier and funnier. And I don't know how many years it is. We'll find out in just a minute because we're going to talk to Dan Castellaneta, the
Never ceases to amaze me, that show.
It gets more... It gets more edgy, funnier. It gets more
it's
ingenious, creative. Last night, they had an episode which I think was like Emmy Award winning. It was Behind the Laughter. And it was like a total spoof, but behind the music, only done on The Simpsons. Here's a clip from last night. All right, let's welcome
Dan Castellaneta, voice of Homer Simpson. Hello, sir.
Good morning.
How are you, Dan?
Good.
Nice and early in L.A. We thank you for getting up.
Sure.
That was
I'm
a classic.
That
was a classic episode last night.
Oh yes, it was. It was very funny.
Who is the voice of the behind the music? Who you guys obviously got the same guy.
Yeah. I can't remember the fellow's name who did it, but yeah, we got the guy who did it, which I thought was a great touch.
They've actually done a couple of decent spoofs of that on Saturday Night Live. One of the few things that they've done that was very funny. But your guys just, set the bar at a new level last night, I thought. Very funny stuff. How did the voice, what I think is funny is when you look back at the old Simpsons episodes.
Right.
And old Homer, there's almost like a Walter Matthau-ish quality to him.
Walter Matthau kind of thing like that.
That was Homer originally, right?
That was originally, yeah.
And why did it change, and how did it change into what we know Homer's voice is now?
It just sort of happened. There was no conscious, usually with any kind of cartoon show, they always want to try to find, they have like big auditions, and they want to try to find the voice, the distinct voice. But because this was sort of done as bumpers on a Tracy Ullman show.
Right.
And they just got the actors who were around, which was me and Julie Kavner. They just had me do, come up with whatever voice on the spot. And then we got a chance. It was sort of a chance to experiment. It was like a rare opportunity to so I just started with a voice, and then when the half-hour show started, the voice that I was doing originally for it was hard to sustain over a day because it would take much longer to do a half-hour show.
Now, when you went in to audition for Homer originally...
I never auditioned for it.
Really? How were you chosen?
I had auditioned for the Tracy Ullman show, and I was on that. I was a regular on the Tracy Ullman show.
Was Homer a voice that you did around the house for a long time? Was it something you maybe talked to the dog in that voice? Or what?
Yeah, right.
Well, originally it was, like I said, it started with that Walter Matthau-y kind of voice. And then it was kind of a voice that there was a voice that a friend of mine did that it was an imitation of his cousin. It was like a voice his cousin did that was imitation of him doing an imitation of him, and then and sort of like I incorporated that, and there's like a little bit of Mr. Magoo in there, and and it was just sort of whatever it had influenced me at the beginning. And also just where it just sort of where it felt comfortable, too.
If you'd like to talk to Homer, 404-741-0997. What other voices do you do?
I do Krusty the Clown.
Mm-hmm.
I do Barney Gumble.
Love Barney.
And I do Groundskeeper Willie. And I do Grandpa Simpson.
Which last night I thought it was hysterical when they were interviewing, quote unquote, Grandpa Simpson, Abe Simpson, and they had him fonted. They had him label Abe Simpson, Coot. That was classic.
In that family, nobody trusted nobody. They even brought their lawyers to Thanksgiving dinner.
So, how's everybody doing?
You don't have to answer that.
Shut up, all of you, or I'll sue. Oh, save it for your next book, you little snitch.
That's assault. That is assault.
Do you have a lot of family that whenever they get around, they go, come on, Dan, just do a little? I mean, does that get old?
Actually, they don't really. I've seen what.
I guess they're over it by now.
Not a lot of them ask me to keep doing it. No.
I guess after so many years, but at first,
usually somebody, and even people are fans, or they just want to hear it once,
Just do a little.
They want to hear people.
One time I guested on the Drew Carey show, and Drew Carey kept asking me to do it over and over again.
Oh, really?
He goes, I'm sorry, can you do it again?
We're talking to Dan Castellaneta, voice of Homer Simpson, and a fan of yours. Mike has a question. Mike?
Hey, Dan, first of all, great talking to you. Huge fan of yours. Where did you come up with "Dow"?
That was from a comedian used to be in the Laurel and Hardy movies called Jim Finlayson. He was sort of the foil. He'd play a landlord or something. And if he came in there and saw they skipped out without paying the rent, he'd come in and go, I'm here to collect the... And then he'd see they'd be gone, and he would go, oh, which was sort of, I think, a euphemism for damn.
Uh-huh.
And then Matt had written it. It's really written as frustrated grunt. And I said, what's frustrated grunt? And he said, whatever you want. So I remembered that. And I did, oh, and then he said, you got to do it faster because it's animation. So it became, oh.
Doe.
Doe. Did early on when the show started, could you have ever predicted that the show would be such a hit? I mean, could you even tell how funny it was?
I knew how good it was, yeah. From the first script, the very first script, I was really amazed at how witty and funny it was.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed, the show has, like I mentioned, I mean, it just keeps on, reinventing the form, and I'm wondering if they constantly have to turn over writers and creative people just so they're always getting fresh ideas, because it's just always so fresh.
I don't know if it's the turnover of writers because actually, when you have writers, we have a lot of writers who are on from almost the very beginning, at least 5 of them, and they basically, the new writers go, what if we do this? And then they go, well, we did that. So it actually helps to have writers who were there from the beginning, who know the show and know when not to repeat it, Repeat it. And actually, they had an episode where Bart and Homer adopt a racehorse, and they had done one where Homer had gotten a pony, and they actually had the comic book guy point that out, and then Homer just went, anybody care what this guy thinks? Because even the writers were aware they were repeating it, a premise of an episode they had done before.
Do you have any favorite episodes?
Actually, my most recent favorite one was when Lisa convinced Homer and Bart that they had leprosy, and because they had messed up the house, and the only way she thought she could convince them to clean it up is that leprosy only happens in unsanitary conditions. So if they clean the house, it will help. And of course, Homer goes, "Oh, the cure is worse than the disease."
Yeah, some of the best one-liners in sitcom history. Homer has just had some of the most brilliant comebacks.
Yeah.
More of this interview you don't want to miss is back in minutes on the Best of the Morning X 99X.
Hello, my loves. It's Lala Kent. Yes, that Lala. And if you're not listening to the Give Them Lala podcast, here's what you're missing out on.
I stayed with my 2 kids
Mom and Kristen shared a room, and you and Landon shared a room. What the hell is going on? A lesbian couple, a gay couple, and then this
random woman with 2 kids.
So weird, but to me, it's the most common thing. This is my brother, his best friend, and my mom and her best friend. This is just how we roll. This is called The Pod, okay?
Give them Lala. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.